There's a moment right before you realize what you're looking at where your brain tries to protect you.
Yeah, it's like your mind goes, this isn't real. This is a movie. This is fake.
Then something shifts.
A detail, a sound, a reaction that can't be acted.
And suddenly you're not watching a movie anymore.
You're watching something you weren't supposed to see.
Tonight, we're talking about the film that built an empire on that exact feeling.
Faces of Death.
Welcome back to the Fear Archive, the show where we dig into the real stories behind the horror that sticks with you.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Mike.
And tonight's episode comes with a pretty serious content warning.
We're discussing real death with a focus on accidents and self-unalivings, stage death, the mythology of snuff, and the ethics of watching all of it.
We're going into graphic detail at points, so listener beware.
And this is less about what you see and more about why it exists.
And our enduring question?
Why do we look?
Not rhetorically, we're going to try to actually answer that tonight.
Or at the very least, get deeply uncomfortable in the attempt.
Which is very on brand for us.
So let's start with the truth. Faces of Death is not what it claims to be.
It presents itself as a documentary and an exploration of death across cultures and contexts.
But in reality, it's a hybrid, a deliberate, carefully engineered hybrid.
Some footage is real. Archival accidents, animal slaughter pulled from existing sources, news clips, and even a sequence filmed at the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office.
And some of it is entirely staged, too. Fake. Built from gelatin and movie magic and the audacity of a filmmaker who understood that the rumor of reality is more powerful than, well, reality itself.
The film was released in 1978, directed by Alan Schwartz under the synonym Conan LeClaire. Sorry.
Yeah, it was a good one.
It's so fake. It's such a fake
totally.
name.
Which is, it's already a choice, right? You're making a film about authenticity and death, and you're hiding behind a fake name.
The irony is almost too on the nose.
So where'd this idea come from? Because Schwartz didn't just wake up one day and decide to make the most notorious shock film of the 20th century.
You sure about that? No, he had an origin story.
He did. And it starts with insects.
Not metaphorically.
No, not metaphorically. So in 1971, there was this pseudo-documentary, and it was called The Hellstrom Chronicles. And it's like a faux science fiction film about insects potentially like taking over the world, like inheriting the earth. Actually won an Academy Award for Best Documentary. So it wasn't, it wasn't a bad movie by any means.
It's hilarious in retrospect, though.
Oh, totally. And yeah, Schwartz saw that and he like had this moment of revelation. He saw how blending real nature footage, like in the Hellstrom Chronicles, how if you blend that with dramatic narration and stage sequences, how you can create something that really feels completely authoritative.
The audience didn't even question it. They accepted the premise and really leaned in.
And Schwartz thought, like, what if you applied that same technique to death?
Not insects inheriting the earth, humans dying on it.
Yep. And that's the seed. That's where Faces of Death begins.
But Schwartz wasn't really like working in a vacuum. There's a whole tradition he was tapping into.
Mondo films. So specifically the wave that started with the film Mondo Cane in 1962. And I think I'm pronouncing that right. Mondo Cane. It's not Mondo Cane. I know that. Mondo Cane. Right.
Yeah, it's Italian shockumentaries. So collections of strange, taboo, and disturbing footage from around the world. Frame as anthropological journalism.
And those Mondo films, they like totally blurred the line between documentary and exploitation, and like really leaned heavily into the exploitation aspects. one might say they kind of like sat somewhere between education and voyeurism, but like way more leaning into the voyeurism piece.
But they introduced a core idea that never really went away.
Real life's more shocking than fiction.
There's a great examination of this in David Koreke's and David Slater's book, The Killing for Culture, which traces the history of death and imagery in media from Mondo films through the internet era. Let me see. Show it again. Everyone listening, Mike is holding up the book.
Yeah, it's very academic. I know I've said this before in our Dead Air episode. It's a amazing read, but it does read like a film textbook. Not that there's anything wrong about that. It is so deep into the content, and I'm more on that at a later date. I'm not done with it. It's like 600 pages of this, but like really taking it apart.
Also, quick plug, if you haven't listened to our Dead Air episode, hop in. It's fun. We're just yapping.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, with this book, like with Killing for Culture, one of its central arguments is that audiences aren't just watching violence. They're actually searching for it. They're searching for something authentic, rather, something unscripted, uncontrolled.
And Schwartz understood that instinctively. He didn't make a film. He engineered uncertainty.
He also wrote about this himself. His book, My Faces of Death, I love that book. It's a quick read. You could read it in like an hour and a half. But it's his like firsthand account of the production, and it goes deep into both the mechanics and the mythology of the film itself. And I'll save this for later, but I was like internet friends with John, and
What?
Yeah, I was internet friends with him through Facebook. And he died not recently. He died a little before COVID, but it was I picked his brain a lot about Faces of Death, and he was very polite. Very polite to me.
Picking his brain would have been in the movie.
Oh shit, for real.
So the synonym, the fake coroner, the deliberate mixing of real and stage, like none of it is accidental.
Yeah, it was all in service of this one question. Well, is this real?
Because as long as you're asking that question, you're definitely watching.
And that's the point where something that doesn't get talked about enough kind of comes into play. So how the fuck did this movie actually get made?
Because Faces of Death is very much a product of its economic moment.
And to understand that, we have to get a little more historical context here from this genre of film from the period. So it was the late 70s. It's considered the golden age of what the industry called the junk film, which basically was just a low-budget exploitation picture that could be made quickly, cheaply, and often financed from outside the traditional Hollywood channels. So, crazy rich people or the mob or both.
Yeah. And Faces of Death fit that model perfectly. It was made somewhere in the range of $450,000.
Yeah, which is nothing. Nothing. Even by 1978 standards. I mean, I wish I had that amount of money. But in regards to making a movie,
yeah,
not a lot.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The film was financed largely by Japanese investors, specifically through a distribution arrangement with Aquarius Releasing and interest tied to Japanese genre film markets.
Yeah, and Japan in the late 70s had a voracious appetite for extreme content that the American mainstream distributors wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Faces of Death found its first serious commercial life in Japan before it became a VHS phenomenon in America.
It grossed something like $35 million worldwide. Again, on a $450K investment. That's a good return.
That's considered successful by anyone. Yeah, so this so-called junk film is one of the most profitable films of its era on a return on investment basis.
Which is its own kind of horror.
Yeah, that's capitalism, baby.
Oh, totally. And, Faces of Death's real cultural explosion came through in the home video market, though. This is the crucial point with this all.
Yeah, Faces of Death wasn't just a movie. It was a tape you heard about.
Yeah, something passed around, whispered at slumber parties, in school hallways. That's actually where I heard it. I heard it in a school auditorium. And I'll get to that story later. Yeah,
Like,
but
you have to see this. Let me ask you something, Mike.
yeah.
Do you think that, you know how I love connecting things. Do you think The Ring was inspired by this?
Maybe the concept, right? Like Ring. I think
that's
going back to Ringu,
like have
Ringu.
to see this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, going all the way back.
This. Yeah,
would make sense. I mean, this film was a worldwide cultural phenomenon.
Yep.
Again, financed through Japanese investors. So
exactly.
I mean,
That's what I was
Japan.
thinking.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great connection. I think so. I agree.
You heard it first.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. So, that oral mythology about this film, that word of mouth, I think was more powerful than any advertising. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't find this in any of my research, but I don't think that there were like billboards for this movie, like on the side of, the expressway. I think that this was.
I can't imagine there were.
No, this was
like.
No, this was totally.
In the 70s, there had like alcohol and cigarette ads. Probably that was the big.
Yeah, there were those.
Money ticket.
But like this was totally that fucking cursed tape whispered about.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Because the film's power isn't really in the viewing. It's in the anticipation, the dread, the dare.
Horror stopped being about the monsters.
It came all about authenticity.
All right. So we have to go here because you can't talk about Faces of Death without talking about snuff films.
Yeah. So if this makes you uncomfortable, this would probably be your time to sign off. But if you're good with it, we should probably define what we mean before we go any further, because the term gets thrown around in ways that are both imprecise and genuinely irresponsible.
Right. So academically, snuff film is defined as a film that depicts an actual murder carried out for the purpose of being filmed and distributed for entertainment or profit.
The last part is load-bearing for the purpose of not being filmed, not documentation, not accidental recording, not crime scene footage.
Intentional, produced, sold.
And here's where things get complicated. There's no verified evidence that commercial snuff films, as popularity imagined, actually exist.
So law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, have investigated this repeatedly. And the conclusion is consistent. While murders have absolutely been recorded, there's no proven underground industry of films created solely to sell real killings as entertainment.
Which is not to say people haven't died on camera.
Oh, totally have. Tragically and often.
But that's different from the mythology of snuff. This idea of a secret marketplace, a dark web before the dark web, where made-to-order death films circulate among the ultra-wealthy and the depraved.
Yeah, and that idea is more cultural than factual.
It lives in the same neighborhood as satanic ritual, abuse panics, blood libel, moral panic dressed up as true crime.
And yet it persists, because the possibility is honestly more compelling than the debunking itself.
So where did that myth come from, specifically cinematically?
1976. It was this movie called Snuff.
Directed by Roberta Findlay and Michael Findlay. Though Roberta has spent decades trying to distance herself from it, which is understandable.
Yeah, so this film was originally this ultra low budget South American Manson family style exploitation picture called Slaughter. And it was shot in like the early 70s, I think 71. It sat on a shelf for years because it was just so bad and unmarketable because it was so terrible. And this is like by exploitation film standards that this movie just was like trash.
Yeah. Then producer Alan Shackleton had a truly deranged idea. He added a new final scene shot on a different film stock, set in what appeared to be a film crew environment that seemed to depict a woman being actually murdered on camera.
Yeah, I think it was something like 8 minutes of additional footage that he had someone go out and film, and he marketed the film after that. He marketed stuff with the tagline, "The film that could..." Hold on, I got to do it in like some kind of like creepy. The film that could only be made in South America, where life is cheap. That was the tagline.
I'm convinced.
Thank you.
He sent fake protesters to picket his own screenings. He planted stories suggesting murder was real.
That's fucking brilliant. Amazing early viral
That's some
marketing,
guerrilla
right?
marketing, yeah.
Right?
It's guerrilla marketing at its earliest stages.
It's like it's like years like in the 90s, or I guess it was like the late 90s when Kevin Smith went to the Dogma premiere, not the premieres, the Dogma screenings that were being picketed, and he went and he was like protesting with the church groups against his own movie just to be a troll. Oh man, but I love it. So look, the murders, the murder that happens at the end of Snuff, it's not real. The actress was alive, but the NYPD actually investigated, quickly closed the case, but investigated nonetheless.
Yeah, but the damage was done. The idea had been planted in a cultural soil.
Snuff, as a concept, as a myth, had entered the mainstream conversation.
And 2 years later, Faces of Death arrives to water that seed.
Now, and this is important, there's a more recent and genuinely disturbing thread here.
When the Epstein files were released, buried in those documents were references to a video described in deeply troubling terms, something that multiple sources characterized as a torture video.
And we're not going to describe the specifics. That's not what we're here for tonight.
But what's significant is the reaction to those references. The clicks, the searches, the desperate attempts to find and verify. It mirrors exactly what Faces of Death was manufacturing artificially in 1978.
The compulsion to verify. The need to know, well, is it real?
Which tells you something, not about the content, but about us. And it's kind of interesting to also think about this in the lens of AI now, of like, what are we looking at?
Oh, 100%. And it's, that appetite that Faces of Death was feeding the world, it didn't go away when the VHS era ended.
Mm-hmm. It just found new formats.
Yeah, so Faces of Death doesn't exist in isolation anymore. It's like spawned an entire ecosystem.
Traces of death, faces of gore, death scenes, each one trying to outreal the last.
Yeah. Ones that were like less fake, more real, less narrative, more footage. I remember them all from the video store, like the horror section at Amanda. Do you remember in West Babylon? You remember Castle Video?
Oh, of course. Yes.
Castle had that huge horror section, right? And like those were like, the horror section was also like right before the like saloon doors that would go into the adult section. Mm-hmm. But like right before that, there was like a tiny, tiny shelf with all of these fucking movies like just laid out, like the gore movies. And they always had like, I feel like as Faces of Death became sort of part of the background tapestry, and these other films like Traces of Death and Faces of Gore, as they started to take more of the center stage, the box art got more and more graphic and disturbing. And a little cartoonish. I remember a lot of it was like the Grim Reaper, like a literal like skeleton, like my buddy here. Like sitting on like an open grave, or like a bunch of body bags just lying around, shit like that. Like genuinely, I mean, I don't know. I've only seen Traces of Death. I haven't seen Faces of Gore or the other ones, but like, yeah. They're genuinely upsetting cover art or awesome, depending on how you're looking at it. Yeah.
I mean, it became an arms race for authenticity, right? Like, it's insane to say that out loud, but that's what they were. All
Yeah.
these movies.
Yeah, it became an industry. So, Faces of Death itself became a franchise. So there are six official entries running through the late 90s. Schwartz actually did produce a couple of them. I think he did the fourth one he did with his brother. Yeah.
The formula was reliable, low cost, high return. The junk film economics that launched the original just kept working.
Yeah, and then at the height of it all, shit, I mean, we got to talk about this dude. We got to talk about a guy named R. Bud Dwyer.
What a name.
I know.
Pennsylvania state treasurer, convicted of bribery in 1987, and he maintained his innocence to the end.
Yeah, and the day before his sentencing, he called this big press conference, and reporters and the cameras were there doing their thing, they were expecting him to resign. Right? They were there to like record his resignation statement. And oh boy, he resigned.
Yeah. Instead, he pulled a .357 Magnum from a manila envelope and shot himself on live television.
Yeah. And this video was broadcast. And footage actually aired in several markets before the stations realized like what they had on their hands.
And then it circulated on tape, on bootleg compilations, and eventually, inevitably, on the internet.
Yeah, I will never forget the first time I saw this video. I saw it in my friend Ryan's basement, which is also the the first time, the location of where we first called Bob. Literally, we were sitting in the same chair. He's like, yo, you want to see this guy blow his brains out? And that R. Bud Dwyer video is so creepy because he's so calm. He's so calm in it. And he actually like warns everybody. He's like, yeah. Oh, he had his bags packed. And he was just like, stay back. I don't want this to hurt anybody. Puts it in his mouth. And geez, one really upsetting image I can't unsee. Mm-hmm. So I will throw this out there. We are not making light of the situation at all. Bud Dwyer's death was tragic. If you are thinking of harming yourself, help is available. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Please, you are not alone. There are people who want to help and talk with you. On a more lighter end of this, even though it's still, again, not light, the band Filter. It always comes back to the band Filter. This is our second Filter reference on this podcast.
Well, what's the other one?
When I went to a wedding and I sat at the table with the drummer.
Oh.
And he was like way significantly younger and definitely had no idea of any of the movie references I was bringing up and like was probably annoyed by me.
All right. So what about
anyway? So Filter wrote one of their biggest songs, arguably one of their biggest songs, "Hey Man, Nice Shot." So a lot of people thought that was about Kurt Cobain. Actually, wasn't. It was written before Cobain died, and it was written specifically about Bud Dwyer.
The Dwyer footage is significant because it's the transition moment. This isn't staged. This isn't Mondo. This is the news. And the news is now indistinguishable from the shock tape.
And the categories collapse. It's, here's a wild one before any of us were seeking this stuff out, at least voluntarily. You know, some of it had, some people had this shit forced on them. Like it was just, boom, there.
Like Red Asphalt.
Oh, God, don't get me started about that one. Jeez. I think our generation, we totally did have this forced on us. So for those who are unaware, Red Asphalt, so the California Highway Patrol driver's education film series, that's what it was. And it showed actual car accident fatalities to teenagers in the hope that they would be scared and it would scare them into driving responsibly. Not that they would just sit and be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Imagine being shown this in driver's ed. Just, here are people who are dead because they drove poorly. Try not to vomit. Class dismissed.
Yeah, that lady's brain just fell out.
It's crazy. They're children. They're children. Yeah.
I definitely, for some reason, I don't remember. I guess it was called Red Asphalt, but I totally did. West Babylon High School did driver's ed at the junior high. I'll never forget it. It was like the summer of like
Yeah.
2001, maybe. And the lady showed us this fucking video, and it was on like the grainy VHS and like complete with like the degrading soundtrack of the voice, like the creepy, like Betty was only going out for a drive. What she got was dead.
I had an instructor. We didn't watch the movie, but he told us how one of his friends got killed with what is it called? Like a bow and arrow, not a bow and arrow, a crossbow.
Like in your next?
Dude, he was like, my friend got into a road rage thing, and they both pulled over, and the guy went into his trunk and shot him with a crossbow.
Whoa. I guess that's like if you're gonna kill. I guess if you're gonna, and you shouldn't, but I guess if you're gonna kill somebody in a road rage incident, that's probably pretty untraceable, right?
It's crazy. A crossbow is insane. I'm like, what are these scare tactics?
Oh,
who has a crossbow? Anyway,
what was that like the 70s?
Probably, because I was taking that class in like 2004, 2005.
Yeah, the driving instructor that I had in driver's ed, like, because the teacher was different. I think the teacher was like a social worker from like the high school who taught it, like, but the actual instructor, man, those instructors in general, I feel like they have the most dangerous job on the planet because they're getting in the car with like these novice drivers, to say the least. Like, we definitely almost became part of Red Asphalt 2001.
I know. I remember I got yelled at by my instructor because I swerved out of the way for a squirrel, and he said, "You just hit it." And
do you remember that veterans monument, like out in, I don't know, I want to say it's like out in Center Reach?
Yeah,
it's like that giant. It looks kind of like something out of DC, but it's not.
It looks like
I think it's a cruise. It's like I've heard it's
pencil.
Like yeah. Speaking of which, it's like a big cruising spot.
Off like William Floyd Parkway.
No, it's before William Floyd. But like the Gilgo Beach, one of the guys in the Gilgo Beach murders, or one of the suspects, he was like that police lieutenant. No, he was commissioner guy. He was like picked up there for like cruising, and he got arrested again for that. But anyway, no.
Plug for our first episode, cruising.
No. I'm so sorry for this tangent.
Let's get back on track.
I'm tying it back. So we drove driver's ed. One of the kids in my class, she drove us out there, and she peeled out of the parking lot without looking, and we almost got hit by an oil tanker.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So sorry about that. All right. So that aside, not dead. You're not dead. We're here. Let's talk about how shock content migrated from the underground to everyone's living room TV sets.
Because this isn't a straight line from Faces of Death to the internet. There's a fascinating detour through documentary filmmaking and reality television.
Totally. In 1977, filmmakers Susan and Alan Raymond made The Police Tapes, a verite documentary following the South Bronx Police Department during one of the most violent periods in New York City history.
Gritty, unvarnished, genuinely disturbing. Showed real poverty, real crime, real police work.
And it aired on public television, won awards, was considered serious journalism.
But look at what it was doing formally. Real footage, no staging, no narrative resolution, observation of violence without context or conclusion.
And that's the Faces of Death formula. Except it did have institutional legitimacy.
Which raises the question, what's the actual difference?
Intent, maybe. Framing the presence or maybe the absence of a journalistic thesis.
Yeah. John Alan Schwartz would like a word about that.
Yeah. I'll get the Ouija board. John was nice. He had a morbid sense of humor. He might have found that funny. Sorry, John, if you're out there listening.
If you're out there, John, move me to yes or no. Was it funny?
John had a wicked sense of humor, so he would have probably been into that. So then came Cops. Bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come on you?
On you. 1989, Fox Broadcasting. John Langley and Malcolm Barber.
Yeah, the origin story of Cops. Do you know the origin story of Cops?
Nah, tell me.
It's a wild one. So Langley, he actually got the idea while he was making a legit documentary film. It was called Cocaine Blues. So he was making this movie in where else? Florida, in the early 80s. Oh, and the Bahamas. Cocaine Blues also shot it in the Bahamas.
He just wanted a vacation.
Oh, totally. Cocaine Blues sounds like a Saturday night.
And reportedly, the police tapes was a significant influence. The verite ride-along format, the refusal of editorialize, Langley was pulling that from that as well.
Yeah, and so Cops actually, and I did not know this until I was doing the research for this episode, but do you know Cops ran for 39?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, 33 seasons.
I do.
Insane.
I do.
33. So it was actually canceled briefly after the George Floyd protests, and it I think resurfaced on Fox Nation. That's what I was able to dig up.
Yeah. I mean, there were also spinoffs, like shout out County Law. There's so many localized ones that were made, which is really interesting. I mean, Cops is a truly pop culture moment also. I feel like we all kind of watched it. I think one time I was watching it, it was just on TV, and this guy who was getting arrested was wearing a cop shirt. I have a photo of it somewhere. I have to find it. I literally paused the TV. I was like, this is insane.
Oh, man.
Anyway, but what Cops did was it normalizes the spectacle of poverty, crime, and violence as entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, it made watching someone get arrested feel like a comedy, like leisure.
The line between documentary and exploitation had officially dissolved. Primetime television was now in the shock business.
Without a bone saw in sight.
Yeah, or monkey brains.
And Cops wasn't alone in this. So the 90s and the early 2000s are basically a case study in how transgressive content becomes product.
Girls Gone Wild. And later, with the internet boom, Bang Bus. A whole ecosystem of content that was engineered to feel like it was capturing something real, spontaneous, unscripted, and slightly illicit.
The Faces of Death formula applied to sex instead of death.
The you shouldn't be watching this feeling packaged and sold for $19.99 plus shipping and handling.
Yeah, Girls Gone Wild in particular is interesting because the exploitation wasn't just formal, it was literal. There were serious legal issues around consent and the targeting of young women. I mean, total predatory behavior.
Yeah, the transgression was real, just not in the direction that was being advertised.
America's appetite for watching, for feeling like you're seeing something raw, something unguarded, something you weren't supposed to see was enormous. Is enormous. I don't think this ever went away.
No. Thinking about it, when we're talking about this, it's like even reality TV as we know it today, like Real Housewives, all of that, it is scripted to some point, and but we just like being there like a fly on the wall. So, Faces of Death didn't create that appetite, but it was one of the first products built specifically to feed it.
Yeah, and then the internet showed up and democratized everything.
In 1996, a site called Rotten.com launched. Boy, do I know that website.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I saw that. I think I saw Tupac Shakur's autopsy photo, which was still burned in my brain.
I mean, I was a kid. Also, steakandcheese.com was another one that I went to.
What was that?
It was like rotten.com. Same shit. Just like things that me and my 2 junior high school friends shouldn't have been looking at.
Yeah. Rotten is ancient history in internet years, but like genuinely super transgressive at the time. And, honestly, for those who don't know, it was like a essentially curated collection of graphic images. So you had like accidents, you had autopsies, you had crime scenes, just death.
Yeah. No narrative, no framing, no thesis, just images cataloged and made searchable.
Yeah, it was faces of death without the fiction. No narration, no Dr. Gross, just reality.
Just the thing itself.
And people went in droves, man.
Rotten became a kind of cultural touchstone, something you dared your friends to look at, something you found in a search result and couldn't unsee.
And it spawned successors. So most notably, you had Ogreish. And that one was founded in 2000 by a Dutchman named Dan Klinker. And the name came from an archaic word, ogreish, meaning having the qualities of an ogre. And its motto, simply, can you handle life? That was the whole philosophy. No editorial filter, no protective distance, just reality, raw and unmediated. Car crashes, executions, war crimes. Fuck, then 9/11 happened, then the Iraq War, and suddenly Ogreish had an endless supply of brutality, beheadings, insurgent attacks, footage the networks had but wouldn't show you. And some of the clips got 15 million fucking views. Yeah, 15 million views. Klinker, this guy almost never spoke publicly. He refused interviews in person. He only really did them by email. And the closest thing the site had to a face was a ghost, essentially.
Yeah. I wonder if that was his real name. It sounds so fake.
I know, right?
Klinker. But then in 2006, Ogreish quietly changed its motto to uncover reality, repositioned itself as an uncensored news service, cleaned up the design, tried to go legitimate. It lasted for about 6 years before Klinker and the team decided it had gone too far as it could go. His words, it risks becoming a parody of itself. So on Halloween night, 2006, Ogreish went dark. And in place, Live Leak.
Yeah. Same team, new branding. Their motto? Redefining the media. And they positioned it as citizen journalism. A YouTube for the world the mainstream wouldn't show you. And Live Leak came to prominence almost immediately. So I think the first video was the leaked execution of Saddam Hussein.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Blair, the British Prime Minister at the time, he called it pro-terrorist. The White House press secretary actually mentioned it by name. It became the place where wars actually lived. Soldiers posting footage from their phones in real time. Atrocities, evidence, history.
Then public face of Live Leak was Hayden Hewitt, Manchester. No office, no PR team, no venture capital. Everybody had a day job. When a BBC documentary confronted him about hosting street violence involving kids and young as 11, Hewitt said, all this is happening. This is real life. This is going on. We're going to show it. But then came James Foley.
Yeah. So August 2014, ISIS beheads an American journalist on camera, and the video spreads everywhere. YouTube takes it down. Facebook takes it down. Live Leak's traffic goes through the fucking roof because they kept it up. And then words come in. ISIS has more hostages. More videos coming. And Hewitt and the founders have to decide, do we keep hosting this? So here's where it gets complicated. So back in 2004, when al-Zarqawi was releasing beheading videos out of Iraq, Ogreish had posted them without hesitation. That was the whole point. But now, ISIS is using this attention. The videos aren't just documentation, they're recruitment tools. Every view is really a victory for them.
Hewitt called a vote among the founders. It was unanimous. ISIS is banned from LiveLeak for a site that had made its entire identity out of showing what nobody else would show. This was the line. LiveLeak shut down for good in May of 2021, redirected to a safe for work platform called ItemFix. The whole archive gone.
And then there was Bescore, where Ogrish and LiveLeak at least gestured towards journalism. Bescore didn't even bother with the pretense. Its founder, a Canadian named Mark Marek, ran it as something closer to an ideological project. Anti-establishment, misanthropic, soaked in contempt for what he called the sanitized lies of mainstream culture. And the site became notorious in 2012 when a video of an actual murder was posted on it, a killing later tied to Luca Magnotta. Marek was arrested. He was charged with corrupting public morals, and he called it martyrdom.
And documenting reality. Quieter, less of a personality cult, but in some ways darker for it. A pure clearinghouse. No editorial voice, no philosophy dressed up around it. Just the footage. Uploaded, archived, available. The banality of it was almost its own kind of horror. Each one stripping away another layer of context, another degree of separation between the viewer and the image.
And the question Faces of Death was manufacturing uncertainty around, is this real? Stop being a question.
It was real. Proverbially, verifiably real. No ambiguity required.
Which, perversely, made it less powerful in some ways.
Because the uncertainty was part of the engine.
Yeah, remove the doubt and you just have death.
Which is disturbing, but it's different.
Did Faces of Death predict the internet gore ecosystem or help build the audience for it?
We're going to say both.
Both.
No, I found in my research for Faces of Death, actually, that the part where there's the surfer that washes up on shore, they were actually shooting B-roll on the beach, and that was an actual body that washed up on shore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's
that was in John's his memoirs. He talked about that, and it's wild that whole aspect. It's like he talks about how when they were making that movie, that it almost felt like there was some type of force that was following them, and the crew was just really unnerved. And when that moment hit, when that body turned up on the beach, they were just kind of like, what are we playing with?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like the universe delivered it to them. I also found that in 1986, a 14-year-old in Massachusetts beat a classmate to death with a baseball bat, claiming the film had made him curious about what it would feel like to kill someone. His lawyer blamed pre-existing mental illness and Ritalin. And the film also got a teacher suspended, not fired, because he forced his class to watch it. 2 students were so traumatized, their parents sued and received a combination of $100,000 in a settlement.
Whoa.
I know. So, like, where does the line fall between a film being a cause versus a mirror?
Where does I think it's a very fine line too. I think it depends what type of person is viewing that film, and is this person at an age where their brain is still developing, and this is something that I don't necessarily think it will stunt their growth, but definitely grow their psyche in a specific direction, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. That is a very good question.
It kind of goes to like red asphalt, right? It's like real accident fatalities. Like for teenagers in driver ed classrooms framed as public safety, Faces of Death was kind of doing the same thing framed as exploitation and is the only difference, like, institutional letterhead. Like, if you're showing this video and saying, like, oh, it's for education, it's showing public safety,
Right.
but it's the same thing. But
Totally.
just because you're saying, like, oh, it's institutional.
Yeah, you have the California state logo
Yeah.
appearing before, red asphalt, but with Faces of Death, you have the Gorgon video, the like vampire font of like Gorgon video.
But it's like an interesting kind of juxtaposition of like, that just makes it okay, but literally it's the same fucking thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that video being disgusting.
You know what the actual difference is? Sorry.
No.
The actual difference is the red asphalt shit is real.
Yeah. I'd say like 75% of yes. Everything you see in red asphalt is like a crime scene, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
With Faces of Death, like 75% of the movie is staged.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's crazy.
Truth.
It's like, yeah.
I didn't
children.
go. I didn't seek out red asphalt again. I'm sure it's probably up on YouTube, probably in some form.
Yeah.
I don't particularly care to want to see it again. It was actually hard for me to rewatch Faces of Death because I don't love this movie.
Me too.
I think it's a pretty upsetting film, and I think, at least for me, it is more the real stuff and the stuff that I know is authentic, like the coroner's office footage that really upsets me in this movie.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
When's the first time you saw it?
Not until I was in my 20s. So I would hear about this movie. Not until my 20s. I saw all that other stuff first, like Rotten.com, Ogreish, like all that stuff was my genuine first exposure to this. But I didn't see Faces of Death until like my 20s when I like torrented it off of actually, I don't even think I torrented it. I think it was on YouTube. Like the whole movie, like a VHS.
When YouTube like first came out, yeah.
But I used to hear about this movie in middle school. They'd hold us all in the auditorium. Do you remember in West Babylon at the middle school, they'd hold everyone in the auditorium before they let you up to homeroom?
Yeah.
And there was this kid, Billy, who like was definitely exposed to these movies at a...
Shout out, Billy.
I don't know. Maybe not. But Billy was my exposure to this type of horror film. And he would like give us, like all of us, we'd like sit and listen, like, and we'd be encaptured, like we would be like enraptured by his stories. Like he'd literally recount all of them. He'd be like, in Faces of Death 2, somebody gets eaten by a bear. I actually think that's in Faces of Death, the bear.
Yeah,
the bear
it is. It's the first one. Yeah.
But like, he definitely saw them all. Traces of Death too. In fact, that line in Background Noise is like totally kind of a bastardization of what Billy said in the script Amanda and I have for a movie called Background Noise. There's a scene where the kid's like, I want to watch Traces of Death. You see an old lady's fucking mouth get wired shut. And I'm like, no, that was a Billy line. that was taken from, that was an actual conversation. But yeah, oh man, definitely. Again, though, the rite of passage thing, it was essentially the whispering in the hallway, right? And I just remember always being so terrified hearing Billy's recount of those films. It's like, that sounds awful.
Yeah, I didn't actually watch it until you were like, we have to watch this movie. I knew about it. I've seen like scenes from it, and I remember learning about it probably in high school, but I didn't have any way to watch it or get a copy of it. And then just hearing about it, it's like, I don't know, like we had the internet, we had Rotten.com. Then let me tell you, like me and my friend Christina, we still talked about it to this day. Shout out, hi Christina, she listens. How fucked up the stuff we would see on there was. I mean, like beheadings, there was like sexual stuff too. It was just like, it was like seeing things that we shouldn't be seeing, sitting in there with our fucking Utz party mix that like came in like the barrel from like Costco that my mom would buy. It's just like snacks and fucked up shit on the computer, on the family computer in the computer room.
Right.
It's like what?
Right. I remember those beheading videos. Again, the same basement I saw the Bud Dwyer video in.
Yeah.
You know, my friend Ryan would be like, yo, look at this fucked up video. And it's like, I think it was that first journalist. I think it was the decapitation of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the most upsetting things I ever watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is all like, when the internet was like baby internet. There weren't restrictions. There wasn't anything on there that could really hold us to not look at these things and see these things and find it.
It was the Wild West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're old.
I mean, now I often wonder though, like is the new generation just completely desensitized to this because they grew up in this era of, you can still see this shit on X, or Twitter, right? Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You can still see this. You could still see horrible things. And, this is that generation is the generation who are born into that internet culture. They're born into that. And, born into the world of mass shootings and
well, I think death is so in everyone's face now because before that, you had to really seek it out or you read about it in a newspaper and it's not so graphic and accessible to see visuals. But nowadays, it's so accessible. It's in movies, it's in video games, and I think kids are desensitized, extremely desensitized. And I think that ties in perfectly to the new Faces of Death that just came out. It follows this young lady who works for a social media company who's reviewing flagged videos. And not to give too much away, but she starts seeing some fucked up shit that's being flagged as inappropriate. So now just taking the context of that and just plugging it back into what we're just saying, I think with like things like TikTok and X and Reddit, 4chan, right? All this shit is so fucked up on there that you could just see it. And I think now with AI, I know it's not easy for AI. Like they do have blocks on AI from creating anything graphic. There's, Chat and Claude both say like, oh, I can't do things like that, which is good, right? But there's still ways for folks to create AI and create fake things. And, is what I'm looking at real or fake?
Now, without giving any, I know you said spoiler free. I didn't see the new Faces of Death film, but does AI come into it at all?
No, but they think videos are that they're seeing are fake.
And interesting.
They flat out just say, and it's within like the first 10 minutes, they're like, that's just fake. It's fake. It's fake.
Right.
Fake. How can that be real? How can it be real?
Well, that's kind of like that video. I don't know if you ever had the unfortunate experience of what is it? Two lunatics, one. What is it? Two guys, one hammer.
I'm thinking of something else.
No. It's definitely a play on Two Girls, One Cup.
Yeah.
But the guys, these guys were essentially, they were kids. They were like late teens, early 20s, and they went on a killing spree in the Ukraine. And there's just this one video of them beating this guy to death with a hammer. He was just this, guy on a bike that they were just like, fuck it, let's get this guy. And they just thrill killed him. They beat him to death, but they videotaped it. And it became something that made the rounds on the internet. Terrific video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy the new Faces of Death. I would say go see it. Barbie is so good in it. The acting is really great. She lets out this shrill scream and shakes you to your core. So yeah, Faces of Death.
Yeah. All right. Let's actually talk about Faces of Death, 1978.
Yeah, finally, let's do it.
Yeah. 50 minutes in and we're getting to the film. This is the Fear Archive, and listen, we stand by our process.
The film opens with the coroner figure, Dr. Francis B. Gross, played by Michael Carr, who is finishing up an autopsy.
Yeah, which immediately establishes this tone of authority. You're being guided by a professional, someone who's supposed to be credible.
Yeah, classic doc technique, establish a trusted narrator.
Yeah, but here's the catch. The character is entirely fictional. The actor's not a doctor. The credentialing is, you guessed it, fake.
So the film is lying to you in its opening frames and lying in a way that feels completely legitimate.
Which primes the audience to accept everything that follows as being real.
And that's not an accident. That's craft.
Yeah, the early segments you see in the film, it's all medical imagery. It's the hospitals, the heart surgery, the autopsies, the coroner's office.
Uncomfortable but socially sanctioned. You're allowed to see this in educational context.
And then the real archival material, it starts to appear. You get the car crashes, the disasters, news footage.
And the tone shifts completely because now you're aware that some of this is real, which retroactively destabilizes everything you've already seen.
That's the structure. Ease in, establish credibility, introduce genuine documentary material, and then the viewer can no longer draw the line.
And we got to do one thing, Mike. We got to talk about the monkey brain scene.
I mean,
that was bananas.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did there. Actually, it was cauliflower. So, yeah, we got to talk about this disgusting
scene. This is the scene that defined the film's cultural legacy. A group dining on a live monkey, apparently consuming its brain.
Yeah, and for decades, people believed that this was real. Like, I remember when Billy from middle school, when he talked about this.
Billy!
Like, yeah, this kid, Billy, yeah. Again, this is Billy from 30 years ago. But I do remember that he's like, yeah, they eat a monkey's brains. I remember that. Like, that was like the hype.
That probably sold you. You're like, I gotta fucking see this.
No, it upset me. I like monkeys. Man.
I wonder if it influenced Indiana Jones.
Maybe, right? That's a good connection.
Yeah, right? You know I love a connection.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was staged. It was gelatin, prop effects, and willing participants. Talk about good acting.
Oh, yeah. And Schwartz actually writes about this in his memoirs, about that whole scene where they really kind of had like one take to get this right because the monkey was getting really agitated and like shitting all over the place and biting this trainer. And like, you know, they had I forget if it was there's some Moroccan restaurant in the valley somewhere, and they just, I don't know, they rented the space and they were able to shoot. And I think the owner's wife is like the belly dancer in the scene.
Wait,
and,
really? Like Fear of the Valley?
Yeah. Somewhere in the valley. But, you know, I don't know. What's the fascinating philosophical question about this all is does it matter that it was staged?
Sorry, I was looking up the restaurant.
No, it's okay. I know. I wonder if it still exists. It might.
No, but like, does it matter? It doesn't matter because the reaction it was provoked. The reaction that was provoked was very real, right?
Yeah. The scene, people fucking vomited seeing that. They ran out of screenings.
You can't
people
fake
had nightmares.
That.
No, myself included. Like up until like I say, like 2016, when I read Schwartz's book, I thought it was real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a disgusting scene. It's effective.
I didn't realize that all of it was real until, I kind of saw it. I was like, I kind of was like, oh, I thought it was like more like rotten where it was like pulling things. But anyway.
Right. So I guess, what exactly were we saying was fake?
Yeah. Later segments included real executions and explicitly violent footage pulled from archival and international sources.
And this is where the film crosses into genuinely ethically murky territory. Now, we're not talking about shock. We're talking about real human suffering repurposed as entertainment.
And the Snuff Association isn't definitionally accurate here, right? But it's not coming from nowhere.
Yeah, there are also, there's animal slaughter sequences in the film and cultural ritual footage that the film frames as anthropological.
Hmm. But the editing emphasizes shock over context. It presents cultural differences as spectacle, which in hindsight is pretty clearly exploitative and ethnically insensitive.
Yeah, the film doesn't resolve. There's no thesis, no conclusion. It literally just stops.
And it leaves the viewer sitting alone with their reaction, which might be the most sophisticated thing it truly does.
Yeah, and here's where we want to draw a really important distinction. Because there is another film from this era that covers similar territory, uses real footage, including real death, and is treated in an almost entirely different way by critics and scholars alike.
The Killing of America, 1982, directed by Sheldon Renan, and cinematography and editing by Lee Lacey.
So if you haven't seen it, it is worth seeking out. Severin Films, they put out a really excellent restoration of it. Probably about 8 years ago. Not sure if it's still in print, but get that. Find it.
Yeah, the film uses real documentary footage, assassinations, mass shootings, serial killer interviews, street crime, all to construct an argument about American cultural decay.
And the key word here is argument. The Killing of America, it does have a thesis. It's trying to say something.
It opens with the Kennedy assassination. It connects political violence to mass shootings, to the epidemic of serial killers in the 70s and 80s. It's drawing a through line.
Charles Manson, Son of Sam, Ted Bundy. The film is almost prophetic. The patterns it identifies, at least, in patterns in 1982. Their patterns we're still talking about now in discussions of mass violence and cultural radicalization.
And the footage is so brutal. You're seeing real deaths, real crime scenes.
But the context, that's the important thing. The context transforms the experience. You're not watching death as a spectacle. You're watching it as evidence.
Faces of Death, by contrast, has no such architecture.
It has a vibe. It has atmosphere. It has that slasher film energy, the escalating reveals, the grotesque set pieces, the pacing that feels more like a horror anthology than a documentary. It has all those things.
Yeah, it's intentional on Schwartz's part. He was making an experience, not an argument.
Look, and there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, right? But it's why The Killing of America gets taught in film schools and Faces of Death gets shelved in the exploitation section.
One film asks, what does this death mean? The other, will you keep watching?
And both questions are legitimate.
We're just being honest about which one is doing more intellectual work.
All right, let's zoom out.
Because this isn't just about a movie, right?
It's about a question.
A through line that runs from Mondo films to VHS to Reddit threads and shock sites.
Why do we look?
Not in a judgmental way, but
in a human way.
There's concept in psychology called morbid curiosity, the desire to seek out information about death, danger, or violence.
And it's not abnormal. Studies suggest it's actually extremely common, maybe universal.
Because death is the one thing we cannot experience safely in advance.
So we simulate it through horror films, through news media, through shock sites, through Faces of Death.
There's an argument made by researchers like behavioral scientist Colton Schrievener, who studies morbid curiosity, that engaging with violent or death-related content in a controlled way may actually serve a psychological function.
Rehearsal for mortality, building a kind of immunity through exposure.
Which is either very comforting or deeply unsettling, depending on how your afternoon is going.
Yeah, totally. But look, Faces of Death complicates this model. It removes the controlled part.
It removes the safety net and replaces it with doubt.
You don't know what's real. you don't know if you're doing the healthy simulation thing or if you're watching actual suffering.
And that uncertainty forces you to confront your own reaction.
Are you curious? Are you horrified? Are you both? Does it matter?
Which it brings us to now, because Faces of Death is back.
Yeah, no, and we're gonna plug it. Yeah, we're plugging this again. So it is a reimagining by director Daniel Goldhaber and Isam Mazi. Am I saying it correctly? Mazi. They're the duo behind the brilliant 2018 film Cam, which I highly recommend you all check out. I think it's streaming on Netflix. I think it's streaming on Netflix in perpetuity. I'm not sure if it's ever going to leave Netflix, which is awesome because great film. But this new one, as Amanda stated, stars Barbie Ferreira, Jermaine Fowler, and Charli XCX. Came out in theaters April 11th from Legendary and Shudder.
And we need to talk about why they're the right people for this.
Yeah, because Cam, it's not an obvious precursor to Faces of Death, but when you think about it, it's actually a perfect one.
Yeah, Cam is about a cam girl who logs into her platform one day and discovers a replica of herself is broadcasting, performing, interacting, generating revenue without her knowledge or control.
It's a film about authenticity, about the gap between a real person and their digital presentation, about who owns an image, about watching.
The central horror of Cam is the real question. Which one is real?
Which is the central horror of Faces of Death.
Goldhaber and Mazi are filmmakers who are deeply interested in the mechanics of spectatorship. What it means to watch, what it means to be watched, what the camera does to reality.
And they're coming to Faces of Death at a moment when the original film's central question has been obliterated by the internet.
You cannot outshock reality anymore. Reality has a better content pipeline than any exploitation filmmaker.
So the only direction left is inward.
Into psychology, into mechanics of spectatorship.
Into why we watch.
If the original was about seeing death, the new version has to be about watching ourselves watch it.
Which is genuinely way more disturbing.
Yeah, it is truly way, way more disturbing.
So where does this leave us?
With the film that wasn't entirely real and revealed something very real about us.
Faces of Death didn't invent morbid curiosity. It didn't create the appetite for transgressive images of death and suffering.
It just gave that appetite a format and a structure, maybe permission as well.
And the lineage runs from Mondo films to VHS to Red Asphalt in the classroom to Cops on a Tuesday night to Rotten.com in an internet cafe to a fucking live stream on a phone that nobody asked for.
The distance between us and death has collapsed.
And maybe that's the real horror.
Not what we're watching.
But how easy it is to keep watching.
And how hard it is to look away.
This has been The Fear Archive.
If you enjoyed this episode, if enjoyed is even the right word, please follow, review, share with someone who definitely should not have watched Faces of Death at age 12.
We'll be back soon with another story that blurs the line between real and unreal.
Until then,
don't die. And if you do, make sure you're far away from a recording camera.
Unless that's your thing.
We don't judge.
Well, maybe a little bit.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Fear Archive, hosted by Amanda Kagawada and Michael Ryan Asap, produced by Cassie Josephove, with original music by Umberto. This podcast is a production of Violet Hour Media.